Hi, this is Anthony from CarPlayLife.com, and today we are checking out the VANKYO Go300 mini projector. So this is a tiny little portable DLP projector that you could just literally throw in your bag, take it traveling or in your place of work and do slideshows and things like that. But the majority of people, I'm sure, will probably be using this for sort of entertainment use whilst outdoors or on the go traveling. So when I first saw this box, I thought, gee, this is really big. But when I actually took the thing out of the box, it's only this big. So it only takes up roughly about a quarter of the box. So it's a nice little handy sized pocket projector. Obviously you can't really pocket this, it's quite deep, it's quite heavy. It measures 13.5 centimeters long by 6.5 centimeters deep, and it's about 6 centimeters tall on the side here. So it's roughly like a portable speaker that you might use outdoors. I've got a tri-bit speaker. It's a little bit heavier than this. So this is just a little bit lighter. I've weighed this and it weighs 517 grams on its own. You'll be taking a few little accessories with it, so you've got to bear that in mind as well when you're packing your luggage. But this is definitely stowable. You could probably fit about 4 rolled socks for the equivalent volume of this in your luggage. 500 grams shouldn't really weigh it down too much with airline limits. If you store it in your bag, even if it's in the carry-on. And yeah, it just lets you watch your media in a large screen than normal when you're abroad or when you're traveling. It's better than showing a laptop screen around to colleagues in an office. It's better than a TV that you probably find in your hotel room, apartment or Airbnb. Most of them are going to be tiny little screens, and if you've got a blank wall, you can just literally plug in your iPad or your laptop or your smartphone and just project a 110-inch screen basically. It's definitely not the brightest in comparison to bigger non-portable projectors, but this is definitely watchable, and majority of these mini projectors aren't going to display a significant amount of brightness, so you do need a dark room to enjoy this. It's barely watchable in the daylight, so if you're going to be throwing this anywhere and watching it, it's probably going to be at night or in the day if you can close the curtains and get a dark enough room. So spec wise, it's a native resolution of 854 by 480. That's not brilliant if we're honest, but if you got to think it's a portable display. It's going to definitely show a slight screen door effect because it is a DLP projector, but the bigger the screen, the further away you are, you're not really going to notice that. The same goes if you project a very small screen on the wall, like say about a meter away, and you're sitting about 6 foot away, you're not really going to see this screen door effect. It uses DC power. Unfortunately, you can't power this through USB, so you won't be able to charge it via a USB like power bank or anything like that. The battery is 7,000 milliamps per hour, so it's basically going to last roughly about 2 hours or just over 2 hours, so just enough to watch a film, and definitely enough to watch a couple of TV episodes on, but worst case you can just plug it in and it will just stay powered. Light source is LED here, so you got to think the bulb life is going to be super long. That's not going to die anytime soon, hopefully. And the projection distance to size is between 0.8 and 3 meters. So 0.8 is going to get you about 30 inches, so just under a meter. And at 3 meters you'll get about 110 inches out of it, so that's a big screen. You're going to be struggling to find space in a hotel room probably to fill 110 inches, and you're going to take a lot of things off the wall as well to be able to see that, unless you bring a screen with you or a nice sort of sheet or something. So the keystoning is automatic. You can turn it to manual and play with it afterwards. So if this gets knocked or you move it slightly, it will detect the angle and adjust the keystoning accordingly. It's a little bit hit and miss, but more hit than miss. It does it quite well actually. I never really felt that I need to go in manually unless you've really got a keen eye on straight lines. It's definitely decent when it's set to auto. Focus is all manual, it's not automatic, and it can be done basically using this rocker switch here. That's quite sensitive. I wish it had a little bit more movement for the focal range, but it's good that you're not really turning this dial like loads of times just to get in focus. It's actually quite quick to get in focus. And obviously the different distances, you're gonna have to be playing around with this to get it sharp. And when it is sharp, it looks decent. Connectivity wise, so you've got a micro SD slot here, so you can expand the internal 16 gig that's inside it. You've got 1 gig of memory inside this to run its quad core 1.2 gig ARM processor inside here, and it's running Android 7. It's not native Android, it's got their own sort of layer of UI that you can navigate between different media sources and change the settings on this. On the back we've got a power button which you have to hold in for 3 to 5 seconds and it will turn on and off. There's your DC input. You've got a USB input for an iPhone or an Android smartphone, so you can actually connect directly to your smartphone or tablet. This also charges. You've got an HDMI port, so that's where majority of people will be using your media through. And then you've got a 3.5 jack here, which is quite handy if you want to plug this into a pair of headphones if you're watching this at night. Or you can plug it into a portable speaker if you want to get better sound out of this unit. The sound is pretty good for just a small little compact. It's not going to blow the socks off anyone, but it's definitely a watchable if you're watching it with kids, or if it's just for casual watching. But if you want movies and you want a big noise, you might as well plug this into a portable speaker like the Tri-Bit that we've tried, and you get some good sort of movie experience out of just 2 little small portable items in your backpack that you can just take it around at night in the garden or in the living room or hotel room. Not much else there, just fan and input and output exit ports through here as well. There is a fan inside. It is quite audible at silent movie watching, which is always a bane of projectors, even with an LED lamp here. But it's decent. It's not too loud, as long as you've got a good enough noise, and if you have it quite far away from you, behind you, or sitting in front of you, it's not as audible. So in the box you get the projector itself, you get a 1 meter long HDMI cable. I think that's a high quality cable, so that's quite good. You get this tiny little sort of remote, roughly the same size as like an Amazon Fire Stick. It's quite chunky. It takes 2 AAA batteries inside. Sadly, you don't get those batteries in the box, so you actually have to buy them. So make sure you got a pair of spare batteries, if just 2, if you pick up one of these. On the actual remote itself, you can power it on and off. That's more like standby. You can't turn it on from a cold start. You've actually got to have it at least powered up first before that button does anything. That's just like a menu button. You've got your navigation buttons and confirmation button, and then down here you've got like a back to home menu, and then you've got return, and you've got volume buttons up and down. And here you've got something that looks like a mouse icon, and that is quite cool. It's you basically pair this remote, even though it's infrared, you can pair this remote to the projector and over Bluetooth. And over Bluetooth, this probably has some sensors in the remote, so it knows that you're sort of doing this. And with this button pressed, once it's been paired, it turns it into like mouse mode. So you can actually use this as a pointer, and also that pointer can be used in keyboard entry, such as like signing in, and also you can use the pointer in the actual home menu as well. So you can actually like navigate using this like mouse pointer by sort of rotating this remote. So it's quite handy without having to keep pressing left, 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 left and selecting all the keys. You can actually quickly navigate. Very similar to a PlayStation controller when you push the stick in. That's quite handy as well. So tiny little remote. Sadly, you have to use this to operate this and get through the menus. There's no navigation on this system at all. I wish you had like an Apple TV size remote that actually sunk itself into like the top of this, and you could like snap it out, or it was magnetic. That would be quite a nice touch. And then you could just carry this one system around without worrying about the remote. Or separate controls, that would have been quite handy. There's no like mounting screw. That would have been a nice touch as well, to be able to put it on a tripod, even if it's like a mini tripod, just to keep it stable. Otherwise you've got to find a dead flat surface to project a flat angled display on the wall. So having a screw there would have been really nice as well. These ports, the USB ports, they charge your phone at the same time. So if you're running this off the battery and you plug in a phone or smartphone, it's going to charge that too. So you've got to think, you've got to be draining the battery on the actual projector, and you're going to be draining the battery as well by charging your phone. Unfortunately, you can't turn that feature off, so that's unfortunate. The SD card's quite handy, but the majority of the times that I've tried it is literally using a iPhone lightning cable into the USB port and plug it into my phone. Doing that, I was able to view the camera roll. I can view photographs, you can browse through those, you can watch videos, the audio comes through here, so it's really handy to do sharing with like friends and family of your photos without gathering around a smartphone. Some apps such as like iPlayer and some TV apps, they work straight through the phone or through the iPad, but some apps such as Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, they didn't work, mostly because when you use the lightning cable, Apple has something where it blocks any copyrighted content. So you would get a spinner, or the app would start and then it will cancel back and go back to the main menu of the projector again. So what I found, even using dongles like this, the HDMI one from Apple, you'll get exactly the same result there too. And I tried USB-C from my iPad Pro to a USB, that had the same result. Both Apple devices would sort of kick into their own security kind of functionality and block any copyrighted content apps. So the way to get around that, I found, is to use a hub, and that hub, a third-party hub, and the one that I've tried, and I tried a few and they all work, but this particular one for the iPad Pro, it's the USB Pro Hub, USB-C Pro Hub for the iPad Pro. This plugs into the iPad Pro through the USB-C port, and then you've got an HDMI socket here. And if you connect the cable that you get through to this socket and into the socket on the back, it basically bypasses that. So you basically have your iPad plugged in to Netflix, Amazon Prime. I tried it with Plex. That's another thing, Plex works fine through the cable as well. The iPhone cable, that's not a problem, but any sort of copyrighted apps, they will have problems sending the signal unless you use HDMI through a third-party dongle. So use a dongle, whether it's a lightning dongle from a third party that isn't Apple, and it's likely they actually strip that signal out, that blocks it from leaving the phone and blocks it from displaying on through HDMI. So I didn't have a problem. I was able to run Netflix on this, Amazon Prime Video through the iPad, and also you can actually load your iPad through with movies on apps like Plex and stuff like that. You could download all the videos on Amazon Prime and Netflix too, and actually watch them over HDMI. So that's not a problem. The benefit with this is also that it's got Wi-Fi, so you can actually connect this to a Wi-Fi hotspot. Could be your phone, could be the hotel or apartment's Wi-Fi router, and it's got Android built in, and it's got like it's got Netflix as standard, and you can jump into your Netflix account and actually watch Netflix directly off this without having to connect anything. And there's also an app kind of library tile in the menu which you can select, and actually select quite a few video sources. You've got Amazon Prime there, that's there, you've got Netflix, and basically because it's Google Play Store, you can actually load any other apps onto this and actually access it over Wi-Fi and stream it. So technically you don't actually really have to connect anything to this. All the software is on here, and you should be able to stream basically the content off the internet and onto the projector without any copyright problems. But we all know that hotel Wi-Fi and sometimes office Wi-Fi might not be the best, so you might actually have to stream content from your own devices where the files are actually on the device. And my recommendation is to use the HDMI port, especially if it's copyrighted material such as movies and TV shows. Alright, so that's a rundown of my first impressions of the Go300 from VANKYO. Look out for our full review on CarPlayLife.com, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, bye.